Good evening and welcome to the Smart Entrepreneurship Decoded show. Over the past many weeks, we have met people from all aspects and walks of life connected to entrepreneurship. We have met entrepreneurs themselves in the journey. We have met investors. We have met lawyers, everybody. One of the common things you hear from people is that who mentors you and the kind of mentor you have can really make or break you. But getting a good mentor is so tough. I have often spoken about fake mentors, right? Midlife, burnt out individuals who could not make it in the companies they worked for, walking around with their CVs and trading equity for mentorship. When you get mentors like that and give equity for free, virtually free, you show a certain business acumen that makes an investor nervous. And I have also often spoken about in life in general, not just entrepreneurship. It is not who advises you, but who you listen to that will create a better version of you or break you. Tonight, we are going to meet an interesting individual, somebody you should listen to. What kind of mentor should you have for your startup? Somebody who's seen the movie before. Somebody advising you should have a wide variety of experience, not having done 30 years experience of doing the same job day in and day out. That's 1 year experience, not 30 years experience. Somebody who's done diverse stuff from in different industries, done it hands-on, succeeded, and is well networked. Because that's what you want from a mentor. Real world advice, real practical stuff, and somebody you respect for what they have achieved. Tonight, we have somebody like that. Somebody who's run restaurants, somebody who's run hotels, somebody who's worked in media, somebody who's also done investment banking, somebody who's a mentor, guide, investor, and an author of 2 books. Please join me in welcoming Umesh Luthria from Mumbai. Welcome, Umesh.
I'm sorry, Nalin. I think there's a technical issue. You are inaudible, completely inaudible to me.
You can't hear me at all?
I'm unable to hear you.
Okay, it was quite fine a short while ago. So let's try again. Can you hear me now?
No. Should I log out and log in again?
Try that.
I'll just come back. I'll just log out and log in again.
Yeah. So while Umesh logs off and logs back in, he's a very interesting personality. He wrote 2 books, one called 11 Gurus, one called Coffee Shots. And he's worked in such diverse areas. I had a very interesting meeting with him in between the 2 waves of the pandemic in Mumbai. At that time, and it was probably November when I met him in Mumbai in Bombay Club. And we had some very interesting conversations at that time. Umesh, are you able to hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you hear any part of the introduction?
No, but I could what they say, read your lips to a certain extent. And so I hope it was all flattery.
I spoke a little bit about your diverse background, from media to hotels to restaurants to private banking, investment banking, and what you do now. How did you get into all these areas as a young person? I'm sure this was not a planned career, right?
No,
how did you get into all this?
So when I was a kid, my ambition was to be an engine driver so that I could travel around the country. Okay. And then it switched to becoming a pilot, again to travel around the world. And somewhere along the line, I wanted to join, out of patriotism, the Indian Air Force or the Indian Army or something. I mean, for me, in those days, I'm talking about the 60s and 70s, that is what used to be the kind of ambition that young kids had, that either you would end up as an engineer or a doctor or an accountant. I think accountant was also a distant, you know, career which nobody thought of. And hotels, you had to be crazy to even think of hotels. So yeah, it's not by my own design, but design of, let's say, situations which came throughout my life. I think we shared this over a pizza at when we last met, that we both are accountants by education, and neither you nor I enjoy doing anything with accounting other than counting money, I suppose.
You know, before we went live, you said something very interesting. I asked you about the 2 books you've written, right? And
Right.
you said, before you write a book, you should be a successful investment banker so that people believe your lies. Now,
yeah, I'm not lying over here.
So I'm going to take it a step further.
Right.
What makes a successful investor? You yourself have turned around, right? You've seen both sides of it, entrepreneurship and investment.
Yeah.
So what makes a successful investor, in your view, in the Indian context?
In any context, the fundamental of being an investor is being delinked to what you do. I think emotions and investment don't go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. We fall in love with what we do. And just like it plays out in real life, if you get emotional about a particular subject, you start bringing in your own personal prejudices. And one keeps beating or flogging a dead horse in the hope of a recovery when there is none. So an investor is a person who can be detached, more like a Swami, I would say, is that today the weather is good, I will invest. Tomorrow the weather is bad, I will get out of it. Unless you are a contrarian Swami who says today the weather is bad, I will invest. And today the weather is good, I'm going to exit. So once you get your approach right and the detachment to what you are doing, I think you'll make a fabulous investor. Anybody who wants to fall in love with their own project and their doings, especially like an entrepreneur, sometimes doesn't make it as a good investor. Mm-hmm. The good investor entrepreneurs are the ones who have not had trouble giving up their businesses and restarting all over again. So when it comes to entrepreneurs, most of the failures are not because they have done something wrong. It is admitting that they have done something wrong and or not correct in the situation that they are in, and the inability to take a walk.
That's a good point, right? Many entrepreneurs get stuck in their companies for life without realizing that each stage of business requires a different kind of personality and different kind of skills. Right. But when I was introducing you, I was talking about mentoring, how entrepreneurs should be careful about fake mentors, people in their midlife who could not make it in their own companies, walking around with CVs, trying to exchange equity for mentoring. But as an investor, is there a role of playing mentor and investor, or do you think that gets fuzzy?
Ideally, if you look at it, I mean, if you look at it correctly, mentoring is as important a task, but it's something which is assumed by the entrepreneur that it comes for free. Mentoring is not for free. And if you want, it's an old adage. You throw peanuts, you will attract monkeys. Okay, and there are a lot of monkeys around who will jump in just for the sake of...
There's a lot of that going around, and I keep warning entrepreneurs against it. But when you invest in a company, do you also take on a role of a mentor, even if it is paid?
I generally would like to sit and see what's going on. I don't like passive investment. Okay. If the investment comes with a tag that I love your money, but I don't love you. I'm sorry, I'm not there.
Okay. So that leads me to a question, like a prequel to that. Like, I know you work a lot in deep tech, real estate and all that, among various other hats that you wear.
Right.
When a complete
Including the
stranger
one I'm wearing. Sorry.
When a complete stranger walks up to you and pitches, what is it that you look for before deciding I want to talk further to this person or not?
30 seconds. That's all it takes to figure out whether the person sitting in me will have a conversation for the next 30 minutes or is just going to be a polite waste of time. It comes with body language. It comes with how you start off. How honest are your eyes in terms of what you have got? And I think the honesty is something which people find it very hard to disguise. And yeah, sometimes it's a case where the entrepreneur is honest, but he has a bad idea. And there are times when you have an entrepreneur who has a damn good idea, but you know he's going to take you to the cleaners. So the first 30 seconds is reading people. I think it's very important as an investor to read the intent of what the other person is coming to you for. And is he there to possibly make a monkey out of you? Or the guy seriously has good intent, but doesn't have the experience or delivery to take it across.
Good point. You know, I think I was being charitable to people when I said 40 seconds. You just cut it down to 30 seconds. Henceforth, I'll advise people first 30 seconds. Because I'm often trolled for saying 40 seconds. If you have my attention, you got it, because people invest in people. Everything else comes later. And you said it more eloquently in different words, that actually you are judging the person in various ways that cannot be described in a textbook or in words, right? You look at a person and you sense, and from there it starts. So that's a good point. So now, in this pandemic time or whatever, or the last 1 year or the next 1 year, what sectors are exciting you? What's coming on your table?
What's coming on my table? I think there's a lot of stuff going on. Honestly, there's a lot of work being done, and digitization, quote unquote, is a terminology being abused. Even a clothing manufacturer wants to digitize, okay, without understanding what digitization or being a digital brand stands for. So they want to take a old school business and take it to mainstream as a digital business. And for them, digital means just going on the net and creating an e-commerce platform, which already exists in so many different avatars. So we keep telling them, why on earth do you want to create all of this when it already exists? What is the differentiation you're bringing to the table? But there is some very interesting work which is being done. I mean, the kind of ideation that is happening right now, Nalin, is fantastic, especially in the world of AI, especially in e-mobility, sustainability, and you'll be surprised, a lot of social entrepreneurship that is coming up, and it's making a lot of money. It's hard work, but it makes a lot of money.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that, because in Indonesia, we teach AI across the country to thousands and thousands of students. So it's good that, a lot of work is happening in that area.
Yes, and I myself am doing a course on artificial intelligence, at least from an understanding point of view. And it sometimes skips us that artificial intelligence has been around, not now, but for decades, and we have not seen it as such, as artificial intelligence. I mean, starting with your simple calculator, it was, I would say, or even if you take an abacus, anything which enhances a human's ability to do work better, faster, more efficiently is intelligence.
Yes. And in a self-learning module, in a sense, the timing is king, right? In a sense, the pandemic, along with computing power, along with data, the people giving value to data and collecting data, all of this has kind of come together like a perfect storm and given it that to Philip.
Yeah, I mean, we're just giving the formality as though it's like the prodigal son has returned and the son is now mature. He's got his university degree. So from our perspective, if you want an analogy, I would say that now the artificial intelligence we are dealing with is of a person who has graduated from college, and now, we say, wow, the son is mature enough to do certain things, whereas the son was always there and he was doing a lot of intelligent things in school and before that or whatever. But now I must correct myself, son and daughter.
I have a son and daughter too. So, something you said caught my attention right away. You said you're doing a course on artificial intelligence, or at least one that is at a basic awareness level and all that.
Yeah.
Now, when we meet investors, when entrepreneurs meet investors, a lot of them are lazy investors,
Right.
Looking more, they come across more as money lenders than investors. How important is it for an investor to remain updated? I mean, what kind of thing do you need to do?
Very. And if you can't do it, get somebody else to invest for you. You need to be on top of your game in order to understand what is being thrown at you. If you don't have that level of understanding, and Nalin, many a times I've seen people try to do something in order to show one-upmanship.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the guy who's sitting in front of you, bringing a set of technology. I mean, as I said, let me go back to that example of the EV or the e-mobility platform that I was just evaluating.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting across, you can actually call them rocket scientists. One was a PhD in automotive engineering, another one in aerospace, and third one in computing. You cannot match up to the kind of intelligence that is in front of you. All that you're doing is making sure that you, with your own learning and the basics that you have learned about it, can ask certain intelligent questions, and you actually reinforce your learning from them. There's a lot which you can take away from the conversation, if not an investable idea. At least they will make you aware of what is going on in the industry, and that, to me, is very, very important. Talking to people, understanding from people, and keeping your mouth shut when it comes to listening to what the other guys have to say. I think many a times we love our own voice, and we try to make the other person know that I know more than you, so don't try to make a monkey out of me. I keep going back to monkeys because that's what we were in the initial. But that's part of learning. You have to sit across as an unintelligent monkey being taught.
Interesting you say that, because I have a similar belief that investors invest in people. They first judge you, whether they can trust you with their money. Then the absolute one thing they're looking forward for, that in your area, your industry, your product, you are way smarter than me. I'll help you with the network. Yeah. I can help you with the money, but work you have to do.
That's correct.
At least in that aspect, I expect you to be way ahead. If I can name 5 companies like yours which you don't know about, I immediately write you off.
That's right.
So knowledge is absolutely paramount, which brings me to a related next step. Now, angel investors typically get hundreds of proposals. Statistics show they pick up 1 out of 40. That's the average.
Right.
What do you absolutely dislike about entrepreneurs when it comes to pitching?
Dislike?
Yeah. What puts you off and you say, Forget the trust aspect. That you've gone past the trust aspect, you pick up the pitch deck, you start talking, and then you decide, nope, I'm not doing this.
I think I've come to a point where it's not more about dislike. It is being put off by certain attitudes in terms of a conversation, in terms of, I mean, there's nothing really which tells me that I should dislike a person in the first go, because sometimes it's just like what you say, that don't judge a book by the cover. Sometimes we miss out on good opportunities because of the prejudices.
True.
And that's a flaw that we carry. I mean, I know of several examples of an entrepreneur's idea being pushed off by an investor, only for them to realize later that that investor's idea was picked up by somebody else. Sorry, the entrepreneur's idea was picked up by somebody else, and it has gone to become a unicorn or some other animal, which you then say, shit, it came to me first, and I pushed it off. So, yes, you do apply your own filters, and sometimes your filters are too strong, and you lose a good investment opportunity. But dislike, I don't think
No,
there
in
is much
terms of
dislike.
not dislike, maybe that's a harsh word, but in terms of you said certain attitudes put you off, right? Certain traits or certain words. What? Give me a few of those to guide people who watch this show.
Okay, over cockiness in front of an investor is a definite put off. Trying to, make the other person believe that I know it all and you are not capable of. That person may not know as much as you in what you do, but that person still controls the money. So I'll take you back to my college days. I studied my business admin at IIT Chicago.
Okay.
And the reason for doing it was because I had this terrible ambition to join the IITs in India. And for some reason, I couldn't join it over here. So I said, IIT to IIT, hai na? So I joined IIT Chicago. And my debate used to be constantly with technologists, with engineers. And they used to keep thinking of business students as the lowest, on the lowest rung of the ladder. And they say, what do you guys do? You just pencil and paper pushers. I said, yeah, at the end of the day, your idea comes to us and we decide your future. So, I said, be nice to me, or someday you'll meet a low-rung idiot who will decide that your brilliant idea doesn't deserve a single dollar. And, you'll be left with frustrated. So cockiness to me is, or overzealousness in terms of selling is a definite put-off. You need to show your confidence, but not to the point where you are pissing off people, if you want to put it that way.
Okay. Those are definitely things to watch out for. But in your experience, when it comes to investments, do you advise investors, angel investors, individuals, to come in groups or individually? How does it work for you?
Oh, so you're asking whether you want to be a lone wolf or a herd? Both have worked, Nalin. Honestly, both have worked in some way or the other. There is, it's a question of risk. I mean, from an investor point of view, there's one thing which is called talking point. So again, I've heard this at a lot of these investor clubs, you may want to call it. Oh, we have invested in about 30 startups. It could just be a fraction of a lakh, if not a lakh. But you go around talking again with that boast, like you have invested significant sums of money in the investment, I mean, in the startup ecosystem, which is not true. Yes, you will get into a situation where there is low risk, but then the reward also is very, very low. I generally don't see many investors in that category having made a lot of money. Uh, Angel investment, I think, has to change. It has to be a double up on the friends and family round. According to me, if an angel investor cannot match up what an entrepreneur has collected in the FNF round, I don't think that person should be looking at investing, because
Sure.
uh, uh, there's nothing in the on the game plate, to take home and say this is my trophy.
True, true. So very true. Now, just shifting uh, topic a little bit. I know
Sure.
do a lot of work in the real estate area as well. At least you keep a keen eye on that. What's happening in that sector? Because the stock market is ready to give that sector huge premiums once again. Has it picked up? Are the REITs functioning? What's happening in that sector?
There are very few REITs or REITs and invest goes existing as of now.
Okay.
My only fear with this new financial product, if you may want to call it a hybrid product, is that if it becomes the flavor of the month idea, you'll have a lot of silly REITs being floated, which will not give returns, which will then go into eroding. The good part is that REITs have been around for the last 8 or 10 years. And the only reason SEBI had not opened the door to the small investor is because they wanted to test out how does it work on a real case basis. And the best part is that with very mature investors coming into the uh, arena, so you have got the likes of Blackstones, the Brookfields, the Xanders, the Capital Alliance, Ascendas. These are all serious players from overseas who are acquiring a lot of Indian real estate. They have the learnings of how to run a REIT. They do evaluate, and I know I'm working with a few of them. The kind of meticulous rigor they put a project for acquisition through, it is meant to make sure that the investor who puts money in them gets the fair share that has been committed.
True.
If that trend continues, I think the real estate industry is in for a big filler. In fact, I was speaking to a fund manager a few days back, and this guy is purely into private equity. And his mantra was, you always have these rising stars or the eclipse stars. With the coming of REITs, this industry at least is going to become more and more institutionalized. And at the end of the day, you're going to see it rise up like a hockey curve.
Okay. Do you see any the major activity? I know SEBI is working on the rules, but in the SPAC space, SPACs coming up in India, special purpose vehicles.
Yeah. So SPACs were again the flavor of the season back in 2005, 2006. A lot of SPACs, especially in the real estate market, had listed themselves on the Singapore and more on the London Stock Exchange, on the AIMS market, alternative investment market.
Yes.
I think it's still a bit nascent for this country because everything that we have done in real estate is a SPAC. You just have a piece of paper. I mean, real estate is a classic example of a SPAC, is that you sometimes don't even own the land. You just put up a project board, and because you believe in the developer, you had been putting money on the table, only to realize that there was nothing there. There was no due diligence done by the investor per se. So that, I think, will change over a period of time, and I'm quite confident that the regulator will come up with a decent set of laws, because there is enough experience now to back themselves on.
True. So we're coming to the end of our time. I'll take one final question for you. Now, I know you have had a very diverse career. I know you are very passionate about a lot of things, including fitness, mental health, and investments, etc. What keeps you going? What next? What's keeping you excited?
Good question. What keeps me going is belief in your own self, to answer yourself on a daily basis, not to answer anybody else. It is, what did I do today to make myself proud? What did I do today to give me joy? What did I do today to make me feel that I'm a better human than I was yesterday?
So one final supplemental question, though I said it's the last one, you intrigued me. So do you think entrepreneurs underestimate the importance of or the emotional drain of the journey mentally when they enter entrepreneurship? Do they underestimate what it will take away from them mentally?
100%. 100%. They don't know what they are signing up for. And many of them get sucked in, and that's the end of them.
I found it very interesting. You will be able to relate to it, that from a time when entrepreneurship was virtually unheard of, right? Then it became fashionable to a point where it's an obsession, and people think funding is a social badge of honor. It is a birthright. Without funding, a startup cannot start. And I keep meeting entrepreneurs, and I realize that more than half of them need advice, not money. They can very well.
I 100% endorse you on that. That most entrepreneurs, I think they should go back and look at their fathers and forefathers. India was a entrepreneurship back in 1947.
Yes.
Okay, with the socialism of Nehru and the Khadiism of Gandhi, India was all about entrepreneurship. Where it changed, we don't know. But we are a land of entrepreneurs. And those entrepreneurs knew that the only entity they could rely on was I, me, myself.
True. Umesh, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. Your thoughts, your ideas, you are the kind of strategic investor and mentor every startup could dream of, because you bring the right combination of seeing life from with a close lens through various industries, having done it yourself, as well as a great network that an entrepreneur gets. Thank you very much. All the best, and have a great night.
You too, Nalin, and it was a pleasure being on your show. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.